With yesterday being midterm elections, a lot of talk has been surrounding the Georgia race for governor between Brian Kemp and Stacy Abrams. The Associated Press has called the race, reporting that Kemp has won the state of Georgia, securing 53% of the votes. Now, this marks the second time Abrams would lose to Kemp. A few days ago, Abrams said that black men have become a targeted population for misinformation, which has affected her poll numbers. However, when the numbers were released, black men turned out to be a key demographic. Today, we have our Comedy Hype analysts, Yamanika Saunders and Pierre calling to the show, along with very special guest, comedian Ian Lara, to give their thoughts and reactions. Now, let's go ahead and dive right into this. And Pierre, I'm going to start with you first, just to get your reaction. I know you're in a different state than we are, but I want to talk about the results here from Georgia. What was your reaction, and are you surprised by the results?
I guess the question is, her losing to him again for the second time.
Yeah.
And it's plain and simple. I'm gonna give you a little rough medicine. Niggas don't vote twice. Okay. Black people vote twice, but niggas don't vote twice. They went out the first time and voted for her, and she didn't win, and they were pissed off. Normally that's how, some blacks and my niggas act, because they'll say like, man, what's our vote count? That's why I don't vote, because it don't never count. We don't win. We want to win. If we don't win, we don't feel like we should vote. And that's not the truth. That's not the way it should be. You should always come out to vote. Show just as a collective we can get together. And even if we lose close, the other side knows, oh shit, they're getting bigger and bigger each time. But we feel sometimes, a lot of us feel like, hey, what does my vote count? We ain't gonna win. So that's ridiculous. And I think that's why they didn't come out to vote for her for the second time. The first time it was neck and neck. It was neck and neck. Right. This time around, they figured like, So.
Let me bring you in on this, Yamanika, to get your thoughts. Again, I know that you're in a different state as well, but here in Georgia, seeing that runoff, what was your reaction? Are you surprised by the results?
I'm not surprised by the results. I want to take the time to applaud the black men that came out and voted, and that voted for Stacy Abrams. I also want to say that what Pierre said is true. Consistency is key. And black women have continued to turn out to the polls. That's just facts. And black women have continued to add to the positive swings that we have had in this country. So we need more black women. We need more black men to come out. We have to remember that those polls result in the number of people that actually went out to vote and how they voted. It does not include how many eligible voters are available in Georgia to vote that did not vote, and how many people are not even registered to vote who are eligible to vote in the state of Georgia.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to come to you, and I want to actually bring up something, and we'll bring up this graphic for people to see. So there's a tweet that says, according to exit polls, Abrams had more support from black men than Democrats nationwide. In fact, if every single black male Kemp voter had voted for Abrams instead, she still would have lost. Turns out the black male voter problem was all a lie. It was white voters. It always is. So I'll come to you in and get your thoughts and reactions on this. Of course, what's your reaction, but also, are you even surprised by the results?
I'm not surprised at all, really. I mean, Georgia is generally a red state anyway, so it generally goes red. But win or lose, I feel like Stacy Abrams, what she's done for Georgia politics and American politics and getting so many black minorities registered to vote can't be understated. Stacy Abrams is a legend in Georgia, and she's like a gift to the Democratic Party. So win or lose, the work that she's doing over there can't be understated. I mean, for the first time in the election, the general election, Georgia went blue for the first time in a while. And that's all because Stacy Abrams and the work she laid down on the ground registering people to vote.
Absolutely. Now, Pierre, I know you kind of alluded to this just a little bit, but I'm still going to bring the question to you. Being that Stacy Abrams had this positive fanfare, as he mentioned, she did a lot of work. She's considered a legend here in Georgia. Why do you think, we saw, push come to shove, and now we're looking at results and we see that, Stacy Abrams lost? Why do you think we saw that despite her having a positive fanfare?
Yeah, but like he said, like Ian said, man, and we all know, for those, I lived in Georgia 12 years. It's a red state, people think Georgia is Atlanta, and it's not. Yeah. There's a lot bigger places outside of it. So many other take your car and put it in drive for 30 minutes outside of Atlanta, and you're going to see how different Georgia look to you, okay? So all those people, you know, you got to really try to get over to those folks. And those are some of the staunch Republicans have been around for years and years, and they're going to keep on coming out and voting. And like I said, we come out, you know, the we being a half and half, you know, the ones that have much sense, we'll register and we'll come out and we'll vote. And other ones just sit back and be like, man, you know, it ain't worth it, ain't, you know, whatever. And like Ian said, man, Stacy Abrams has done so much for Georgia, man. She put them on a spotlight to change them to be Democrats. So shout out to her. Just because she didn't win this time doesn't mean she can't go on further to something even bigger.
Right.
Absolutely. Yamanika, let me bring you in. And I do want to give just thank you, Yamanika, for taking that opportunity to thank Black men for showing up to the polls, because we did see that narrative being pushed around a lot, you know, saying that, hey, Black men are not showing up and kind of placing the blame on them. So thank you so much for, you know, saying that and putting that out there. But I'd love to get your thoughts. You know, why do you think we're seeing that Stacy Abrams lost this despite having such a positive fanfare here in Georgia?
Well, it's common sense. Number one, the reason why we keep telling Black people that they have to come out and vote, and that Pierre's narrative is also correct, that you have to consistently, even when losing, come out, is because if we keep losing people and not building a stronger base, we just have this sort of circular loss system that we are stuck in. We have to also know that it's not just about whether Black people are coming out to vote, which we need you to vote at all cylinders. It's also about that swing vote that the Latin community has, that oftentimes votes very conservative because they have these sort of traditional values. And we cannot ignore the racism towards Black people from the Latin community. We also have to acknowledge that it is important to understand white people are not going to give up the stronghold that keeps them in power and lets them have social and economic advantages over us. So when we looked at the race here for our governor, Democrats across the board generally win in New York City, but even I think it was a 52 to 47%. I forget even here we have to be concerned because our Democratic governor did not win by a large margin. So that means that in a place that is supposed to be as diverse and culturally accepting as New York City, even here, we're starting to see that the impacts of racism, white people who have their own special interests to vote in certain ways that lean towards whiteness, is always a thing that we're going to have to counteract, because that vote is very strong and it is consistent.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for teeing up those facts as well. I do appreciate that. And let me bring you in and ask you that same. And I know you touched on this a little bit. So, of course, if you'd like to add and expand on it, you know, why do you think we saw that Stacy Abrams lost this despite having such a favorite fanfare and, like you said, being a legend here in Georgia?
Yeah, I mean, it goes back to like the red state. It's a red state, so Republicans are in charge. So Republicans make the rules. So before the election even started, she was down due to like redistricting and red zoning. So there was no reason, like her even performing as well as she did is a huge win. And if you follow the graphics and the numbers, Georgia is trending blue. So even though she did lose, I'm sure Republicans in that state are worried because they see where it's going. And like Pierre mentioned, Georgia is bigger than just Atlanta, even though there's a large population there, but all the other red pockets in the country, in the state, you know, those are Republicans and they're set up that way and they have a stronghold, but the Democrats are creeping up on them.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Now, of course, as you all know, when things like this come to the surface, of course, social media is going to sound off and have a lot of things to say. There are people in the comments, you know, pretty much saying, hey, you know, I feel like if Stacy Abrams was a white woman or even a white man, you know, the results would be different. So, Yamanika, let me bring this question to you. Do you think if Stacy Abrams do you think she would have gotten the same results if she was a white woman, or even, hey, we can say a white man?
Well, let's just say this. I mean, obviously, absolutely, right? But stating claims like this, what does that do for us? Stating the obvious. And it's the thing that I have talked about a lot on this platform and have gotten flack for, because I am trying to consistently get us to be moving forward and building instead of standing here going, but what about them? But what about them? Black people, we are not in a position to go, well, we don't need to talk about black on black crime because white people killing each other. You know what I'm saying? We don't need to talk about this because white people also do this. We need to remember that we need to keep the eye focused on us. Clearly, if she was a white woman, she would have had more support and she would have had more fanfare and she would have had more people voting for her. And she would have, to go up against a white man, I don't know. We've seen white women also die next to white men when they run up against white men. So who knows? All I know is, what are we doing to make sure that the next time she runs, we make it stronger? Yes, it is a red state, but like Ian is saying, it is trending blue. And because of the ways that Stacey has been moving in that society in Georgia, they have locked women, those two senators, right, out of the, from coming into the room to talk about elections. They are running scared, and they're running scared because they want you to know that they don't want you to know that they're scared.
So, and let me bring that same question to you. Of course, you know, a lot of people on social media are sounding off on this. And I love what Yamanik had to add. I love to get your perspective on this as well. What do you think? Do you think if Stacey Abrams do you think she would have gotten the same result if she was a white woman or a white male?
I kind of disagree. At least, like, I guess we got separated because there's a difference between a white woman and a white man. So white woman, I don't think so. I mean, I personally think that Stacey Abrams is a political, like, superstar. Like, it's the kind of politician that comes along every once in a while that could change the electorate. And I think if it were a white woman, I don't think she would have got the support that she got. A white man is different because, you know, they are whatever, like, they run all the state, but I don't think that they would have been able to muster up the energy and the enthusiasm that Stacey brings. She lost by 200,000 votes, and like 4 million people didn't vote. So I think that's like the main thing. She was very, very close. I definitely think that Stacey is like a one of a kind, and I do think she like mustered up a lot of energy that I don't think another Democrat would have been able to do, because they've tried, and Georgia never went blue, you know, in like 30 years until Stacey came along.
Well, Pierre, let me bring that same question to you. You know, same thing. You know, if Stacey Abrams was a white man or a white woman, do you think the results would be different?
No, I mean, they've never had anything but a white man as the governor. Okay, so that is you got to rip the mental and the hand off of these white people who think they got to be a white male to be a governor of Georgia. They haven't had a woman, they haven't had a foreigner, you know, Latino, whatever the case, or a black person, black man as the governor. So that's a very hard thing to try to do. So I don't know if she would have been a woman. I don't think they're ready for a woman in Georgia. I don't think a black man in Georgia. I don't think nothing. I think she had a hard fight to fight. She fought it valiantly two times. It's a shame. I mean, you know, it is what it is. Let's not act like racism ain't out here. We know what it is. You know, they're just not about to pull off of that. You got to be something different for some of these places for them to get rid of the mentality of, you know, somebody white male running something. Look at us as the president of the United States. It took forever to get Barack Obama. So I don't think nothing else would have changed it. But she's a qualified woman. She damn near more qualified than Brian Kemp to me, you know, from what she's done. So, but people like what they like. And like I said, we've all agreed there's a lot of people in Georgia that don't look like nobody on this panel. Okay.
Right. And the thing also we have to remember is not to give white women too much of a pass. I do agree that Stacey Abrams did an amazing job in what she had to move the Democratic Party the way she did move it. But we have to understand that when there are breakdowns in hierarchy, yes, white women are disadvantaged to not being men, right? But they are still under the auspices of whiteness, okay? So when we talk about, like, on a bigger scale, when we talk about the presidential election and we talk about how many white women, especially white women who identified as feminists, who may claim that they did not like Donald Trump because of some of the misogynistic things that he had said and how appalled and disgusted they were at him. And then when we looked at the results, over 53% of white women voted for Donald Trump the first go round, and almost doubled down because it went to 56% of white women last time. So it's easy for white people to get the funding. It's easy for them to get people behind them. Also, it's easy for them to get into these conversations with lobbyists. We have to remember, in politics, there's a lot of special interests behind the scenes. There's a lot of corporations that double trickle down. So we are at a disadvantage as Black people, and that's only because we don't pull our resources together properly. We don't stick together, and we don't believe in building foundations. So when we talk about why we're not in certain races, we have to get our shit together to love one another and support one another first. And then we can start to see a bigger change across the board, because politics is not just a man who decides he wants to run for office. Politics is Chick-fil-A, politics is Tide, politics is social media now, it's whiteness, it's controlling power, it's controlling the banks and entities, it's controlling a lot of shit, and we need to get in the game.
Absolutely. I love that. Get in the game. Now, before we head out, and I kind of want to bring this one in a little bit. So, as we know, another big election or a running that we were seeing was Walker and Warnock going against one another. And the results are in that they actually will be doing a runoff. So, I want to get your reaction.
Crazy!
I want to get your reactions to that. Yamaneek, I know you just wrapped up, but Pierre, I'm going to start with you, and then Yamaneek, I'm going to come to you and close out with the end. Pierre, you know, I think a lot of people are surprised that it was this close, you know, for majority of the time. And then now we're seeing that there has to be a runoff. What was your reaction when you saw those results?
I mean, the Republicans will nominate an eggplant. They don't give a damn. I mean, it is absolutely, this man's history. Herschel Walker, first of all, not a public, you know, in political politician at all. He's not well spoken. He has a horrible history, domestic violence. I mean, you know, he could have killed a kid, and the Republicans just don't give a damn. They don't care, you know. And Warnock is not like that. He's a politician, you know, a reverend. He's done a lot of stuff positively. So there's no smut on his name, really. It's just people are, you know, people go. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's ridiculous. I can't. I'm not gonna make sense of it. It's gonna hurt my head. Georgia, do your thing. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say. Do your damn thing. Whatever you want to do your damn thing.
I think I had the same reaction, just at a loss for words. Yamaneek, I heard you loud and clear, so I'm interested to get your thoughts on it. When you saw those results that, hey, they're tied and there has to be a runoff, what was Yamaneek's reaction to that?
I instantly started eating healthy.
Damn. Hell no.
Because I got to learn how to run. I got to learn how to jog. I'm gonna have to do something. Now, let me explain something to you. We keep talking about how uneducated, right? That's a narrative that Black people are, how ignorant we are. But we don't account for how many ignorant ass white people is just running amok. Most of them running in Georgia. There's families out there that are sharing 2 or 3 teeth.
Woo!
When we talk about that, they're voting based upon making sure that they get some coon ass nigga in office that they can run. Herschel Walker ain't got no brains. I don't even think Santa even offered him any brains for any of the Christmases that he participated in, right? So when they know they got a marionette puppet in the office just running around with a dry ass Jerry curl, not knowing how to speak, probably dropped out of school in the 2nd grade, they will push for him because they understand, and the fear that they keep on white people is this, that Black people are violent, that we've come over here to take their jobs and take all kinds of stuff. Until you can never argue with that type of a white person, because they think everything is being taken from them, and they think that we're the ones that are taking it. Never once would they look at the history that Black people came over here as stolen property and worked to build this country. There is no evidence or any foundation past indentured servitude that white people have put in the same type of grease work, elbow work, and grunt work. And then we have the Latin community coming over here pulling up the rear. You understand? So as long as you have white people who have that mentality that they are owed something, entitled to something, and the enemy is people of other colors and not the people that they actually have sided with, who also want to see them down and out, right? Who only use these white people as a catalyst to affect change that disproportionately affects them.
Right.
But as long as they can tell them that it's okay because they're white, they're winning, and that's the only thing that they're fighting for, we're always going to have problems like this in the voting too. That's why it's important for us to get out as Black people, vote, stay consistent with voting, and do what we need to do to move the dial forward, because you are fighting against a lot of ignorance.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people definitely agree. As we close out, let me get you to close us out with this question, then I want to dive into what you have going on. So, you know, seeing these 2 guys go neck and neck, you know, throughout the entire time, and now the results is that they have a runoff. What's your reaction to it, Ian?
It's interesting because as we like mentioned a couple times in the conversation, most of the electorate in Georgia is white, and they were two black candidates running against each other. So I kind of wonder what if the Democrats would have ran a white man, would they voted? Because it seemed like a lot of the white people just kind of picked the best of both evils in their mind, because they were just like, they're both black, so I guess I'll just go with the Republican and vote on party lines. But I wonder if the Democrat would have ran a white person, would they have flipped party lines for out of racism, basically, on some like?
But the Republicans did run a white guy. He was just black colored. Okay, Herschel Walker ain't black. Oh, let me around. Let me around.
Right. Well,
go ahead, finish it
well,
off.
yeah, that's a fair argument. That's a very fair argument. And I mean, if you hear, he was kind of catering to that, but yeah, it's interesting to see. I mean, one man is like 100% qualified. I just don't understand that. I don't understand. Like, it just baffles my mind when you look at it objectively, and it's like one person is qualified to do the job, and then this person is just saying the wildest stuff, has a track record of doing the wildest stuff, and still be like, yeah, this is my guy though. He's gonna give us a tax break, so I think he'll be good. I don't understand it.
Man, great point there. Well, we'll see what happens in the runoff. Like Pierre said, and like you all have backed up, people show up. We have to continue to show up no matter what the results were this time or the times before, make sure that we still show up moving forward. But before we head out, of course, I'd like to know what you have coming up. And I know you have a special coming out, so I love to hear all about that. Congratulations on romantic comedy that's coming to HBO Max. Could you tell us a little bit about it and what people can expect from your
Yes, romantic comedy is streaming on HBO Max on this Friday, November 11th. It's my first HBO special, directed by the great Ida Rodriguez, and it's like, I'm so proud of it. I hope people watch it. Check it out on HBO Max.
Absolutely. And of course, how can people keep up with you as you continue to grow?
I'm Ian Lara Live on all social medias. You guys can check my stuff out there for dates and stuff whenever I'm coming to your city.
Okay, and I want to back up a little bit too, because the name of the special just makes me curious as to the things that you talk about within the special. So what type of things are you talking about that people can expect in your special?
Yeah, I mean, we went with romantic comedy because when we watched the special, it was like a lot of stuff on dating, and like I'm currently not married and out here dating, so it was just like a lot of those stories. So we felt that like that was like an appropriate title, because it's just about a bunch of dating stories. It's not all that, but that's like a large portion of it. So yeah, I think that's what you guys can expect. There's a lot of dating stories and me talking about me, basically.
Absolutely. Well, I definitely look forward to it. That's November the 11th on HBO Max, so I definitely look forward to seeing that. Yamaneika, let me bring you up next. What do you have coming up, and how can people follow you?
Well, I want to thank everybody who came out and supported me for the New York Comedy Festival. I had some people in the house from Comedy Hype, so thank you guys. Always coming in and being cool. I want to take the time to say, listen, you can follow me on everything at Yamaneika. Go watch Ian. Ian is a very funny, talented comedian, very nice guy. We talk about people who are on the mainstream and people of color and things like that. This is definitely somebody that you guys want to tap into. I also want to take my time to say this really quick. When we sit down and we realize the type of information that we consume on a day-to-day basis as people of color, let's stop consuming so much of this. You don't want to take care of your man, and that's why we got this and women not taking accountability and men not taking accountability. And I took my son to McDonald's and his wife didn't want to have no move for the other kid. Like, when we talk about what we consume as a culture and the information, and then wonder why we're not moving forward in the polls, let's get informed about candidates. Let's get informed about what we can do to move the process. And for everybody in the comment section going, but what has she done? I'm telling you what I do. I go and I get my ass out and I vote. I go and I talk to people who understand politics. I don't think I have the answers to everything. I try to figure out how can I be a part of the solution instead of just complaining about it. So go figure out how you can be a part of the solution. If my busy ass can do it, I know y'all can. You ain't doing nothing but working at H&R Block.
Oh, damn, bro.
Pierre, let me get you to close us out. Pierre, what do you have coming up, and how can people follow you?
One thing I want to give a shout out to the young man, Ian, man. Congratulations on having a special and coming out. Please support that, brother. We need to support what we do, especially these young comics coming up. So I'll definitely tune in I have HBO Max, so I'll check it out. And Yamanik, you know, I love you to death. I like the way you talk. And also, who you say you gotta win so you can eat healthy? I need your ass eating healthy. So who gotta win or what? I gotta watch the polls and shit. Make sure
Yeah, remind them you was calling me Stacy Abrams before we got started.
Well, it was Stacy Flygirl Abrams from In Living Color. Okay, but I ain't seen that whole outfit. I thought you pulling out with the Halloween like for a couple more days. What the hell is going on over there? But we still love you. Whatever's happening over there. You can watch my podcast. I got the great George Wallace coming on again for the second time, and we riff and have a great time. So if you go over to my podcast, Pierre's Panic Room on YouTube, check it out. It's really funny. I got some tour dates coming up, but it's so far away. It's a couple of weeks away, so we'll be back on next week. But again, man, have a great week, and you know, Georgia. Can we get the Reverend in office, Georgia? Come on, can we do that, Georgia? Come on, Georgia. If you listen to, come on, man.
Well, again, thank you so much, Em, for joining us. Again, congratulations on everything, and I look forward to seeing your special. Thank you all for joining and on this topic and giving your thoughts and reactions. But you heard from us. Now we want to hear from you in the comments below. What are your thoughts? Why do you think Stacey Abrams lost in this election? For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.
Put it in those comments.
Show up, Georgia.
Do you know the comedy culture? Play Comedy Hype, the game. Out now.